Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I'm now in Kuala Lumpur Bird Park. I have with me the Olympus 75-300. We're gonna shoot some beautiful birds today, and I want to share my thoughts on why I think this is the best budget super telephoto lens for micro four thirds system. Let's do this. There is no specific agenda for today's outing. I just want to have fun with this 75-300 lens, which I found at a very good price in the used market. I've never owned one before. Previously, I borrowed one from Olympus to do a review, and I've returned to them ever since. I'll put the link to the review up here. Please check it out if you have not done so. And I've never actually tested this 75-300 lens on an OM system OM1 before. So today is the first time I'm pairing this lens on my OM1, and I want to shoot some beautiful birds. This Olympus 75-300 lens is the smallest and lightest budget super telephoto lens for micro four thirds system, and it has the reach of 300mm at the longest end, which is very generous and versatile. Even to shoot birds from a shorter distance, of course. If your bird is at longer distances, you might need longer lenses like 100-400 or 150-600. You might want to add a teleconverter to get close to those birds. But in this bird park, I can shoot birds at closer distances, so this 300mm is more than enough. And it handles very well with my OM1 because the lens is so small and so light. I can just hold it with one hand with no problem. Of course, when I'm shooting, I'm using both hands. And this is also the first time I'm testing the lens on OM1, so I'm using the AI bird detection tracking autofocus, and it works like wonder. I just point the lens at the bird, and the camera will find the bird, and the autofocus will just work flawlessly. I really like the image quality coming out from this lens. It can manage to render very sharp images, full of fine details, very good contrast. If you zoom in and look at the details of the bird's furs and feathers, what was I thinking? Feathers! They look really sharp. And the sharpness is very consistent from 75 all the way to 200mm. If you zoom all the way to 300mm, you do lose a little bit of sharpness, but to me, that's fine. I wouldn't hesitate to shoot all the way at the longest end, 300mm reach. You buy this lens because you want the full 300mm reach, right? And when it comes to bokeh, it is very beautiful. The out of focus area, it is smooth, buttery, it is not distracting. I don't see any hint of nervousness. That's very important to separate your subject from the background. And if you talk about the technical lens flaws, yes, there are some flaws like chromatic aberration, purple fringing, flare, all that exists, but I don't think any of them are deal breakers because this is a budget lens at such a low price, especially if you can find one in a used market. I think the value, what this lens offers, it definitely outweighs all the technical flaws that you find on this lens. I do wish that OM Digital Solutions would update this 75-300 lens with a newer version, and if they do, I wish that they've included 3 particular improvements. Number 1, I wish that this lens is weather sealed. With weather sealing, we can use this lens in a wider variety of situations. Of course, I'm in Malaysia. This is a tropical country. We have rainforests, and we call it rainforest for a reason. They rain a lot. And number 2, I wish that this lens starts and ends with a brighter aperture. This 75-300 at the moment is from F4.8 to 6.7. I think that's a little bit too dark. I wish that it starts from say F4 and ends at F5.6 at the longest end. With the brighter aperture, this can open up a little bit more opportunities to get better shots. And finally, number 3, I wish that the optics is a little bit improved so that at the longest end, we don't lose sharpness. We still get perfectly sharp images consistent from 75 all the way to 300. I don't think my requests are too impossible to achieve. I think that's perfectly fine. And I know a lot of people will wish that Olympus or OM system would include image stabilization in the lens so that it's more stabilized for telephoto shooting, handheld especially. But I think that's okay. Having used this 75-300 on this OM1 camera, I think the OM1 does a splendid job in stabilizing my shots. I never wish that I have the sync IS or lens IS to work with the camera. It is definitely good enough. I understand if you include the IS in the lens, it will definitely increase the cost and the size of the lens as well. I want to keep the lens budget friendly. I want to keep the lens as compact as possible. There's something so fun shooting with a small lens on a small camera. I personally think that when it comes to value, this Olympus 75-300 is the best budget super telephoto lens for Micro Four Thirds system. There are some other options like the Panasonic 100-300. It has weather sealing and it has optical stabilization, but this is still much smaller than the Panasonic lens, and this is also, in terms of cost, it is lower than the Panasonic lens. So if you want to stretch your budget, you want something that doesn't cost as much, if you want something as small as possible, and what you can get from this lens, looking at the images, the results that I've shot on this OM1, the photographs look perfectly fine. That's why I think in terms of value, this 75-300 is very hard to beat. Although I've been here several times before in the Kuala Lumpur Bird Park, it's always a fun experience looking at the familiar birds. I know I'm shooting the same birds and I didn't challenge myself or do anything too difficult like shooting birds in flight or anything. They don't really fly much. If you notice, they just stay at the spot waiting for food. This is a cage, a large cage, but it doesn't really matter. I still enjoy shooting close-up portraits of the birds. It's always nice to appreciate and look at the beauty of all these beautiful creatures. That's all I have to share about this Olympus 75-300 lens, which I've used on my OM1 shooting at this Kuala Lumpur Bird Park. If you found my sharing beneficial, if you've enjoyed looking at my photographs, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way, will definitely help me to continue making more content and publish them right here. Until the next one, please go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye! Unfortunately, my recording device, the external HDMI capture device to show you my viewfinder, the battery has just emptied, so I can't show you through my viewfinder anymore. But hey, the shoot goes on. I want to continue getting more shots.